Welcome back, Sir Caleb.
I can't get over that intro, bro.
Hey,
So good.
I was telling Shaw that we made that at the garage. We got super lit in our garage,
Oh
and
yeah.
played some deep thought YouTube videos with some wild lights, and we legitimately just hammered out an intro video.
I
It was a
love it,
fun
man.
time.
It's authentic.
It was a fun time. Julia, hello, Julia. How are you doing today?
Julia.
All right, today. Sorry, I'm drinking a little bit prematurely, but it's again I'm rocking gin, and I decided to get kiwi strawberry signature select water with that White Claw mixture. What do you call it?
The gin fizz.
The gin fizz. You ever heard of that, Shire?
The
The
White
gin
Claw
fizz.
cocktail.
Definitely heard of White Claw. I've never heard of the gin fizz.
It's
good.
Caleb turned me on to it the other day.
Yeah.
So,
So a gin fizz is gin, tonic
yeah.
water, and like lemon or whatever. And I was like, that's like a mixture of like laziness as well as like innovation, I guess.
Yeah.
And so
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder, because tonic water is just analog flavor water, I guess. And so
Yeah.
I had a White Claw, put it in there, and I was like, wow, this is great. And then you have to like top it off with some egg whites, but yeah, they're
I'm not about the egg
scary
white
strong.
thing, though.
They're
See,
incredibly
this sounds
strong.
like a pre-workout drink already. Like you're about to get go to the gym, just start looking crazy at people.
Yeah, he tried to hit me with the egg whites, and I was like, nah, let's make it just no egg whites, please.
Wait, do you like blend it in, or like what
Yeah,
happens?
I don't know why that creates the
Broth.
foam or what the
Makes it
broth.
thick.
That's the broth. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but we'll bypass that today, so it's all good.
All right,
But yeah, today we're gonna do something different. You guys, everybody here, obviously you know Caleb and I. Shah is a new guy to the podcast, so welcome. Thanks for coming in and hanging out with us tonight, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, we usually have it on Saturdays too, so this is a little bit different as well. We did miss last week, so we're coming at you two folds this week, and we'll be on as well on Saturday too.
Back to backs. Yeah,
it'll be fun for that one. But this one's going to be a little bit different. Usually we're always talking about conspiracy theories and chatting about just some wild, intricate shit that we make up on the spot half the time, and it gets it goes off the script a little bit, which is great. But today I wanted to talk about, and the reason why we brought Sean is Sean's starting up his own podcast, and so we wanted to talk about letting everybody know that you should follow his Instagram right there. You see the little QR code. Feel free to scan that QR code. It will direct you to his Instagram page. And he's in the works of building out his podcast, but we wanted to talk about some of the things that kind of struggles that we went through, our thought process on why we decided to start a podcast, and then just kind of see where this takes us. So it's gonna be a fun one. Should be about about an hour or so, depending on how well we vibe throughout the night. So it'll be good. Some of the things that initially went through my head. So, like some of you guys know, before I started a podcast before. Had it going for about a year or so. Had someone leave. They just had some other priorities they needed to take care of. So I know Caleb and I, we've known each other for quite some time, as well as we've known Shah for quite some time as well. But we decided to start a podcast, kind of revamp it the way that we wanted to do it and talk about things. Initially, obviously, there's a thought process that goes into it. Is how do we set it up? What are our platforms? Who are our audience? What type of people we want to join in our podcast? And then time frame. Biggest issue that we always had, I think, in any podcast was just what does our calendars look like? What does our work-life balance look like? And then how did we go through and manage that appropriately to have time to be able to have a podcast and enjoy everybody's company and get to know one another? It was always a struggle, but Caleb, what were your
it's like I think that I don't know, like going into it initially, I just talk about dumb things all the time, and I'm on camera all the time. I think that's cool. It's whatever. But I think the hardest part for me was just like really figuring out what I wanted to talk about. It's super easy to just ramble and go on and on and on, which I mean we do it. I'm not gonna lie, we run it. But I remember just like sitting down, shoot for hours in your garage when we were just like, what do we want to do? We even made like a little note. We hammered out just like all of these ideas, like, oh, I'm interested in this, and then just like trying to find that like relationship in between, like what Ryan's into, what he's super knowledgeable about, what I like, and then just like find something that we equally kind of not really, but do a little bit know about, so that we can learn something new as well at the same time as keeping you guys engaged, which I hope we do. And so I think that was probably like the biggest thing for me. And the timing, I remember when you were talking about the original podcast, there was just the issue with not researching enough together, or just like not being in the same room. And that's kind of why we structured it as we did. Unfortunately, we haven't got back in the same room yet. The garage is coming.
There's a reason why, but we got
Yeah.
audio
You guys
issues
building
we
it
got to
up.
work out.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got audio issues to work out, but it's in the progress of being fixed, so we're good.
But I think just like going into it was super overwhelming. I don't know. Maybe it's just like my most recent employer where I just like am in front of people all the time, and it's just kind of given me that ease of like I can talk to a camera all day. I can talk to people that I've never met all day, and that has really helped me. But yeah, I completely lost my train of thought. Hang on.
I think that you're right. It's like talking in front of people in this generation of people, and Shah, feel free to chime in here, but this generation of people, it's so uncommon to talk to people face to face.
Right.
We had, and keep in mind, we had COVID, we had restrictions that allowed us to talk to people and can continue to flourish in our communication techniques, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's a totally new kind of generation of like, I see more and more people do podcasts. I see more and more people start getting a little bit more comfortable talking to people in a sense in a camera view. But initially that was another reserve of mine, is like feeling judged, right? I know we've chatted about this before, being judged or being misunderstood based on some of the opinions that we have. And so I know, Shah, you and I, we spoke about that, but what are your thoughts just on the idea of being judged and even starting this podcast and what your journey kind of looks like?
That's exactly it right there. Is that I think what I've done for a very long time is always wanted to do something similar to this. I wanted to start up a podcast. I wanted to hit up YouTube, but a lot of times what happened was I thought myself into like this frenzy. I thought myself into like this. How is it gonna start? How is like the how your guys' intro was it was spontaneous, but it also looked good because you guys were having fun with it, right?
Yeah.
And like you could see that, like the way that it starts, the click of the glasses, and like you guys starting up your cigars. Like I like that. I think it's cool. I feel like the fact that for you guys, how it just kind of like flowed so easily. That's genuine. That's authentic. And
Thank
I
you.
feel like if you think
Yeah,
yourself
appreciate that.
too hard into like how it's gonna start up or how it's going to sound or like these plans, for somebody like me, it's always caused me to try to perfect it more than it needs to be, and so it's prevented me from even starting. So I know there's a word for
Scary.
that. Yeah, it's and then just also being able to share your thoughts and being vulnerable to the point where you can say something out there. And like I watched you guys' last video where you guys were talking about the Egyptians and like the pyramids and what your thought process was. And I thought to myself, I was like, bro, I want to chime in. I want to, I got some ideas. I think I left like a comment on the videos too, and I was like, yo, they use sound to like cut up the blocks, bro. There's evidence of that.
Okay. Is there?
Okay.
Is there
What?
sound?
There had to be. There's this gentleman that actually I don't remember where, but I think he had a British accent where he used
Graham Hancock. Is that what it is?
not that guy. This is somebody
No, he's
completely
good.
different. This is an unknown character. He might have been assassinated. Who knows?
Okay.
But he used sound to boil water, and it was just like there was this.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah. So
Interesting.
there's certain things about sound, even like the technologies that they had in the past with like trumpets and trombones, with just like breaking down walls and things like that. We still don't
Or
understand fully.
like when you listen, you could be in a total headspace and then you listen to your favorite song, or you just listen to any different change in tempo, and it honestly feels like you restarted the day. Or there's like a new section of like, why am I feeling so high? Or you just like just like hypey and just like,
Yeah,
sound is cool.
frequency for sure.
Mhm.
So
That's
things like
interesting.
that, being comfortable talking about stuff like that. And I think right now I'm in a very, very good space mentally. I feel like I've gained the courage and like the confidence to just go forward and not think through, like be my natural self of just overthinking stuff. I just want to start, you know. And as I go through it, as I find certain things that work, certain things that interest me, and things I want to talk about, people that I want to have, conversations with, and just exactly what we're doing, because we'll
Yeah.
talk. Before, we used to play Destiny, we sit there and we're playing games and we'll talk about things. They were cool conversations,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know. And it's like, well, there's content there. There's something that we can bite into. We can probably expand on it, and then you know maybe people are watching, people will chime in. And I thought to myself, like, why have I been holding back? I'm coming out the
Yeah.
shadows, man.
Yeah. Right. It's dope. It's you said something too about um you finally got into the right headspace. What brought you
Yeah.
to that understanding of like now's the time, as to oppose of I'm sure this isn't the first time that you've thought about kind of jump starting a podcast in a way to kind of give yourself an outlet. What brought you to this understanding or realization of now today's the day, or now's the time?
Man, that's a great question. To be honest with you, I don't know if it happened to be like just walking to work one morning and just realizing I'm single filed with a whole bunch of other people walking into this mundane experience, you know. I don't know if it was something about uh just me turning 34 and realizing, like, dang, I have not hit the pinnacles that I thought I once was gonna hit, like
Yeah.
the realizations there were just like, How much longer?" And I think we talked about uh yesterday, where like people have had great CDs, songs, things like that die with them. They haven't had the opportunity to express that. Those are things that I'll never get to hear, you'll never get to hear. A lot of people will get inspiration from stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to be more of a rebel. I'm trying to express that. And I think that's what's kind of like causing me to want to be in this headspace now. Is like, forget the traditional thing of like approaching it from something, because it doesn't work from like a planned experience, because that's not me right now. I'm
Yeah.
definitely more of a spontaneous, type of person. Like when I'm sitting around friends talking and things like that, it's like the things that we talk about on the fly is what's funny. The stuff that
Yeah.
did we just lose Caleb?
Yeah, I think we
No,
lost Caleb
I'm
in the
still here.
video.
Somebody
He
plug
doesn't
the
have he
Caleb.
I'm
doesn't
just
have a
shook.
video, but I'm
Still
sure
here.
we'll get him back. But
Yeah, but that's kind of
no,
like where my head's at right now. Is I think
yeah,
I'm tired of waiting. I don't want to wait anymore. I don't have an official plan, but I think right now everything is working in a place where, I have the support of my family, I have support of friends. You guys are here to help me with, kickstarting this thing, and I think
yeah,
what better time than now?
yeah. No, and I agree. I think people so often they push it out so far because there's always restrictions. There's always, I have this, I have scheduling issues, or I'm too busy, I have work, and I have all this, and I have all these things that interrupt what someone really wants to do. And I think, I mean, my goal, and it may be, a huge astronomical goal, but my goal is to do this full time. I would love to be able to have a podcast and talk to people full time, and get to understand people's different, perspective and understanding of life. And that's a huge goal. It's a huge aspiration of mine. But my mindset, and I think everybody's mindset should be exactly, they do with what you love, and do everything that you care about, that motivates you, because at the end of the day, going to a mundane job like you every day that's stress. How
Zalayla's over here. She's trying to
Zalayla,
she's trying to join the podcast. This is
welcome
Ryan.
Zalayla
We're
to the
having
podcast.
yeah,
Zalayla,
welcome to the
you know who I
podcast.
am. We've spoken before. She's funny.
She can't hear.
I know. There she is. But like I said, going to a mundane job every day is stressful. Nobody
Hmm.
likes to do that. It's hard on the family. It's hard on yourself, and it's not healthy. And
Right.
so having the ability to have an outlet like this, that's why it's so awesome that you're creating a podcast to talk about, your thoughts and your processes of moving forward in life, and kind of really understanding who you are. And Caleb, welcome back to the podcast. We're happy to have you. And
Thanks.
I think, Caleb, you have an opinion on this as well, as like having the ability to have an outlet and talk about things that maybe we don't know a lot about, right? We don't know everything about anything. Like I tell you right now, the Egyptian podcast we had last week, it was a lot of it was shooting from the hip and coming up with some BS.
I
But at
loved
the
it,
end of
man.
the end of
It's
the day,
good. No, I liked
end of the
it.
day, it was fun to be able to have that conversation. And I know Caleb had some opinions on Egypt and everything too, but you know, it was just fun. It was fun to do, and it's having the ability to have this kind of outlet is so exciting. I'm happy that Caleb's along for the ride. I'm happy that you're starting it, and I can't wait to see kind of where we end up at. But this is only the beginning, which is great. So
Yes, you know, I like I like that you guys have, you know, stay true to the schedule. I think more or less just trying to get that going. What do you guys feel like is the biggest challenge around that? Around like maintaining that? Is it just like is it the simple stuff as like family or like job and things like that? Or is there like
well,
more flexibility in like starting a podcast and like changing your schedule? Like how does that work?
I think the most difficult part of the entire podcast is the scheduling.
Mhm.
You know, you have say you. I mean, I'm a victim. I mean, I'm a prime example of Ray Ray being the victim of me being hyped in the morning to do something. Ray Ray, let's go play video games when we get off of work, or let's go shoot
then
photos,
the lull
right?
happens.
And then
Then the
the weight
lull
of the day
happens.
gets to you, and you get off of work. All you want to do, I just want to say, I just need to unwind. I need to unpack. I need to just like kind of decompress, and it almost like makes it so that it looks like it. I feel like it would be a task. Like this is more work that I have to do, and so just like changing your state of mind and your thought process, and like this isn't. I'm not showing up to work. I'm not showing up to do a job. I'm here to sit down and hang out with Ryan and everybody in the chat that comes to hang out. Thanks for putting up with me. And I don't know. And so just like shifting that, like, oh, I have to do this in order to be successful, to, ooh, I get to do this. Like I just had a long day at work. I'm going to get in front of a camera and I'm going
Mhm.
to blast it. I'm going to lay into how terrible my day was, and I'm going to do it in the company of friends. And so that's like been like the biggest obstacle for me, is just like shifting into that like, this is super fun. I want to do this. And then even to the point where I feel bad now when we didn't make it on Saturday. We got distracted, and
Tell them
after
why did we get distracted, Caleb?
bro.
Uh-oh.
Well,
We got Diablo 3 rift running right now.
Yeah,
I might
yeah,
be
we
joining
were,
this pretty soon, actually.
bro, come through. We're getting super hyped for the fourth one. And so we were like, hey, we're both online a little bit early. Let's run a rift. And then 4 hours goes by and we're like,
rifts.
uh-oh, we needed to do something today. And so yeah, that's why we did it. But just looking at it like it's something fun to do. Like we're super unprepared. My cat knocked the camera out. It died. Like I'm not here to do anything but have fun, hang out with you guys.
I know.
And that's how I've been trying to look at it, and it's been working for me. So
That's great. Yeah, my initial thought process around like starting a podcast and the YouTube channel was just that um like why not? Why wouldn't everybody have that? If it's like more of a, you know, some I would think of it as more of like a therapeutical type of thing, just to kind
yeah.
of throw something out there. Because a lot of times you might be going through something and somebody else would just probably need to hear what you have to say. You know, it's kind of
Mhm.
like I don't know who needs to hear this right now, but man, today was one hell of a day. My boss was, you know, a dick, and I need to, you know, vent real quick. But, you know, this is how I handled it. This is how I overcame it. This is what I did to like stand tall. And then, you know, some people might come into the chat and then say something that uplifts you or like makes you feel like, wow, you know, this is cool. This is bigger than just me right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't think I've been so excited to do podcasts as I was when, just like a couple minutes ago, when you said you were in that Egypt one. I don't know why, but like just that, like we were just hanging out. Sorry, Pumpkin, you're gonna have to move, homie.
Yeah.
And we were just doing it to have fun. And then I haven't spoken to you in a coon's age, and just to know that, yeah, my boy's sitting in there, he's hanging out, he was having fun, he was taken away from it, like that just gets me so juiced. And makes me want to continue to do this, just because it was just I made a positive impact on one person's life at the bare minimum.
Yeah.
And
That
so
was entertainment factor. Like I enjoyed it because that made me start thinking. I was like, oh man, I need to start looking up some stuff about the pyramids, man. Maybe like what's the time frame? Like when were they really built?
Yeah. Isn't that wild? It's still to this day, I don't know enough about Egypt at all, but man, some of that stuff is just like the ideas that people are coming up with different ways of how these pyramids are built, which is so funny because people don't ask the same questions about the pyramids in Mexico. Because there's
I know they just
pyramids in
know.
Mexico. They just know they
These
built
guys be
them.
hardworking. They
They
make the
built them, bro.
pyramids.
Yeah, dog.
What,
Like, why
what are
is
these
this such a
Egyptians doing, bro?
They didn't have
yeah.
limestone over there, bro. It was easier to pick up.
Yeah. So it's just an interesting topic in general. I know this Saturday we're going to be talking about the Appalachian Mountains, which
Yep.
is a pretty cool a cool topic to discuss. So we'll have some neat things on that. But Sharia, when's your launch date? What are we thinking as far as a time frame of when you want to fully establish yourself as someone you have a podcast, you have all of your social handles, you have everything ready to go. What is a realistic timeline of when you're going to wanting to have everything up and running?
But I think what you guys do is actually like a good approach to it. Is just like one a week. That gives me enough
Yeah.
time to like handle whatever's going on with family, work.
Yeah.
Just not necessarily pressure myself into like just putting something out there and then just coming and looking like the wheels are falling off.
Yeah.
But definitely like being in tune with that creative mindset, like things that actually have built up in me for years, video games that I've thought were like
Yeah.
trash, or things that I love about like that whole genre, or just like self-help. I feel
Yeah.
like I've had a lot of good conversations with people around me, my coworkers, my family, my friends. We've talked about a lot of things I think resonate with all of us, and then that might also be something good. So um once I get that going once a week, probably midweek. Wednesdays seem to be like hump day, man. That might be
Yeah.
the way to go. Like it might just be in the
Perfect.
middle of the week, kind of like, hey, the juice is running low. If you need it, your boy's over here. I got some stuff for y'all to listen to. Come check me out over here on this podcast. We'll be talking about some
Yeah.
things that keep us going for the rest of the week, or like questions that I might have on my mind that I want to express, or I definitely have a couple of people I want to bring on there. My sister
Yeah.
being one of them. I think she's an amazing human being in general. She just has a wealth of knowledge, a lot of that might take some time. She might need me to up my game a little bit before she comes on board.
Yeah.
She's VIP, bro.
She's not gonna help you out off the
She's like,
jump.
yeah,
Oh man.
why don't you get like
Get a
three
following. Get a following. Yeah.
a little bit more than
Get a
just one
following
person.
before you come in
Yeah,
on
get
them.
more than mom coming and watching you first, okay?
Yeah. That's dope. So we spoke about a couple books that you've been reading as well. Tell me about some of the books that you have on your playlist
Yeah.
right now.
So uh The Power of Broke is coming up, and that's uh
By Damon Jones, right?
Damon Jones, yeah, Shark Tank. And
Yes, sir.
that's on the list. That's something that actually recently just came to mind. I was just talking to somebody about it, and they brought it up to me, and it was the premise is kind of like, start, just start, and
Yeah.
that's kind of like where I'm at right now. Is just I don't necessarily have too much of it, and I hope that I understand a little bit more from the book and apply it to my current situation. Just kind of like, you know, I got the willpower right now. Like I want to do this. I want to
Yeah.
start being creative. I want to start putting stuff out there. You know, I'm not overthinking things anymore. I want to just start. But another book that actually I've been listening to all day today, just taking care of the household, just making sure, wifey comes home
Yeah.
and you know, doesn't feel like I've just been doing, yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
that chunk
She
blood
don't
just
do that,
had,
guys. She don't do
The
that.
tongue.
she's got a
Yeah.
curve on it. She's,
Yeah.
but the energy bus, man, and this is the
Oh,
crazy thing about that book is
yes.
it's
Yes.
it's been brought up so many times,
Hmm.
and it's always been, and this happens multiple times. There was another book, but this particular book has been brought up back at AT&T days, man. Like when I was in Bellevue, my store manager, He even brought it up in one of the conversations. He was just like, "You should probably read this book." And I thought to myself, I was like, "All right, cool. That sounds like I understand the premise of it. And, it makes sense." But just listen to it today, as I was just, minding my cleaning, doing things like that. Something that struck me was a lot of us don't particularly have any like proactive approach to crisis until it hits us. And in a lot of those moments, then we want to start listening. Then we want to start paying attention to what's going on around us. And unfortunately for most of us, that might actually be too late. But I'm a very optimistic person, and I do believe that I do bring like a level of enthusiasm which is infectious. Like I think when we're sitting in a group, we're talking about like self improvement, things like that. I definitely see the positive in most situations, and that's where it resonated with like, yeah, life can suck sometimes. Things can happen sometimes, but it's never too late to really turn that around. And there's certain things that you might experience a year ago, 2 years ago, you can probably bring that back. You can dig deep. You can go into the cookie jar and, I did accomplish this. I did do this. Oh, these are these accolades that I have that I wear. I was a store manager. I was an assistant store manager. I was uh, a coach. I was a leader of some sort. These are things that I can overcome. I've told people how to overcome certain things that they're just struggling with. And the energy bus was just kind of like a reminder of all of that. And currently, I'm in a manufacturing field of work. So to me, it's like I don't need to think about any of that stuff. There's no need to
Yeah.
communicate with people. There's no need to like you lose a lot of that stuff if you don't use it. To me,
Yeah.
it's just like put your nose to the grindstone and work, right? That's it. Remember what you're doing, don't make any mistakes, that kind of thing. But it's like you don't get to talk to people, you don't really come up with any solutions there, and you think everything's copacetic, everything's fine, and all of a sudden something happens, like you get into a fight with the loved one, or like a problem arises that you're like, oh man, I haven't dealt with stuff like this in a long time. But Energy Bus is like, yo, you can do this. Just smile, fool. Like, start
That's all
laughing.
you got to do. Yeah. Yeah. It was such a great book, and I'd love to get Caleb's opinion on this because so I got this book from a leader in AT&T as well, and I read that book, and I'll be 100% honest. That's probably one of the first books I've read in a very long time. I'm talking not Audible, but read,
That
full
paperback.
on paperback style book, read front to back, and
It's
it
got
opened my
highlighters, man.
eyes. Yeah, it opened my
Same.
eyes, and I gave it to Caleb about 16 years ago, and he still hasn't given it back.
Chill. Are
And
you
and
serious? I
and
thought I gave it
it's so
back, bro.
no, you did. First of all, no, you didn't.
No,
We have had conversations over and over and over again, and we work in the same office, Shaw. Work in the same office, and I tell this guy
That's
almost
no.
probably why
Are
he
you
thinks he
serious?
gave it to you, bro.
every couple of months. I ask him for this book, and he's like, "Yeah, I got, yeah, oh, yeah, yep." And I here's my thought. Here's my honest opinion. He lost it somewhere. He
I
lost it.
at this point, 100%. I was
Yeah,
under the impression
yeah.
that I had given it
is.
back.
It is gone. I don't have it no more.
Looks like I'm
I
going to
got you,
Barnes
man.
and Noble on
Looks
lunch.
like you're going to Barnes and Noble and picking me up another
No,
one.
I do. I want to read it again. I think that was I I just got so hyped. I'm not a big reader. I don't like to, I'm good. I can read well. I read goodly. I do good reads,
I
but
better read.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's so many distractions and stuff that make it easy to not read, and so I like set a little commit to myself to just do one chapter a night, just starting out. And even on the first night, everything was just so relatable to some extent, and then just like the feeling that I got after just like reading those little sections of the book that I would read, it was just like I've been doing life wrong. Like I need to apply this outside of this little reading session, because the next day after I read this book is a completely different life that I lead, and I just like absolutely loved the positive impact that book itself had on me. It really just like helped me through some like cumbersome times, and it's silly to think about just a couple of chapters, but no, 100%. Like I would say that was probably one of the best things I've ever read, and it's amazing. And I still to this day try and apply the rules to my daily life, and it works, man. It's so good. So
Yeah,
that's a
and
go ahead, Ryan.
I think one if you haven't read it, anybody, the book is called The Energy Bus by John Gordon is the person's name who wrote the book. But it talks about ultimately positive energy, learning to turn negative situations into positive situations, just your outlook on when negative things happen. We initially want to immediately call them negative, and we fail to recognize, and Shah, you brought this up earlier, we fail to recognize it before it happening. And so we're a very reactive society, in my opinion, and it is very difficult for people to understand how to be proactive, and then it's going to be beneficial to oneself. And so this book, the gentleman's name I think is George, and his car breaks down from the jump, and he's got to get to work across town, and in order to get there, there's so many things that happened wrong. I think he got like a flat tire, or then something else came wrong with the car, and it was just like a snowball effect of things that happen. And every time something happens, it was such a negative. It was always negative, like, oh, now I got to do this, now I got to do this, and this is such an inconvenience with me and my family.
Yeah.
But at no point does he stop until later on, until he meets the bus driver of the bus, and starts talking about these rules, that he starts to recognize that not everything is negative. It's just about how you understand and approach the situation that happens that may initially seem negative, but there's always something positive in there. And Joy and the rest of the bus starts to kind of tug on George's heartstrings, and he starts to slowly recognize that these things aren't negative, and that these things happen for a reason. These are all building blocks and understanding of life, and how he develops himself, and starts to kind of now look at life as such a positive, phenomenal thing, from before, when everything was negative. It rained, it was negative. His car broke down, it was negative. If he got in a fight with his wife, it was negative. Like, it was always negative. And as this chapters go on and they get better, he starts to recognize that these things are happening for a reason. These things can change based on how you react towards them. And the book is great. So if you haven't read it or listened to it, it is The Energy Bus by John Gordon, and it was
100%.
one of the first ones that I've read successfully front to back.
And it is very big print, and there's not a lot of words on the book pages, so it was good.
Yeah. For anybody who struggles reading the books, because I know it's hard for us.
The lessons are quite short. That's kind of what I was noticing, was there was times where I had to like pause it and rewind like 15 seconds or 20 seconds just to be like, that's actually pretty simple, I personally think it's better to read the book and have a moment where you're really paying attention to it, and not just kind of have it playing in the background, because you'll miss a lot. And that's kind of, I'm planning on going back and actually like rereading it. Well, as soon as Caleb gets the hard copy to Ryan, I'm probably gonna borrow it.
Bro, I'm gonna get both you guys one. It'll be podcast startup.
Yeah.
Happy podcast. Get you the book. No, I have to agree with that. Like I was saying, just like there is with all of the distractions that happen, just like consciously making that decision to take time out of my day and read a chapter, and then just like while I'm reading it, I would just like paint a little picture of just like what is happening in my life that just feels so similar to what this man is going through. And then when he's going through all of these issues within the book, I would stop and I would ask myself, like, how would I go through that? Would I approach that any differently? And if so, like, why? And so I started working through it in that manner. And by the time I was done with it, I started just like identifying people that were, what is it, the gas takers and whatever.
Yeah.
Just
I forgot
the energy
the
takers.
The fun
sponges.
Fun sponges. Yeah. Don't be a fun sponge, man.
Just by like applying them, and not just like taking those little simple lessons and applying them to my life, I noticed just like leaps and bounds of just like better mental health, just happier, just things don't seem like a drag to me anymore. They are fun, and that's how it's going to be regardless. So
don't you think that has something to do with the job too? I mean, so Caleb and we work at the same job, and we've worked at the same job for years now together.
Mhm.
We were at one job together at AT&T, as you know. That's how we also met Shah here. But then we got over to another job that we're currently at together. And Caleb, you got to admit that the lifestyle that we had to now, just solely on our job change, with the freedom and the flexibility to have more family time, more kind of just a freedom and not stress, has also really helped jumpstart this podcast and given us the flexibility
Mhm.
to have
Yeah.
a podcast.
100%. No, I agree. And even just like dialed back further, just like with how impactful like good leadership is, it is in night and day difference. Like it felt like I was in a salt mine. That is what I referred to AT&T as. I was going to work in the salt mine so that I could pay for my car and feed my cats. Now it's I mean, before I would work 6-7 hours a day, and by the time I was done with it, I was like, I hate everything. Like, I'm so tired of my life. And now I could go 9-10 hours, and when I'm done, I will consciously be driving home full of energy, excited to attack the day the following day, just because it's not, it doesn't feel like a bad, like, it doesn't feel like a, I don't know, I feel successful in everything that I do there, whereas before I didn't feel like I made any impact whatsoever, and that was just so subconsciously draining on such a small level. You don't notice it right out the gate, but then as the time progresses, you just like are in this like lull of, or purgatory, I guess, of just like, I'm not impactful. I'm literally just here to do X, Y, and Z and go home and hate it because I have to do it tomorrow. We're here. The smallest thing that I do is I feel like I've just like changed the lives of millions, even though obviously that's dramatic. It's not to that scale.
Not
But
yet.
I
Not
feel
yet,
valued.
not
I feel
yet,
like a
not yet.
valuable person. I feel like all of my hard work, all of my effort means something. And if it's not true, that's fine. You guys are doing a good job lying to me. Keep it up. But I love that for my journey. So
Yeah, that's what's crazy. And Shaw, he sent me his resume. We're gonna try to get him on board and bring him on to into the gang. So that'll be 4 for 4, which would be exciting to see. We'll
The dream team, man. That
the
would be
dream
amazing.
team, and it's such a neat environment to be a part of. And it's like Caleb mentioned, it was like working in the salt mines. You know, you would have a great day over at our other job at AT&T, and it was like the second the day was over, it was forgotten about.
yep.
There wasn't it was yeah, it was, what have you done for me today?
Of course.
Not and so with this job, because it's still a fairly new company. These guys are great. They're fantastic. Everyone is awesome. The environment is just, when I say different, it's like the only way and that's the way I explained it to Caleb too,
Yeah.
before he started here, and as well as Eric too. I was like, it's different, and I don't know any other way to fully explain what I mean by different. You can only recognize or understand or experience it when you're there. It's just different, and it's
like,
different for the good reasons.
it's like you're on vacation. Okay. Walk
Yeah.
with me. Walk with me. We're on vacation and it's beautiful. It's paradise. You decide to lay out by the beach or wherever this vacation may take you, and you take a nap. This nap is incredibly refreshing. You feel the breeze of the warm air, and you wake up and you're like, wow, I am physically in paradise right now. And that like euphoric feeling, that's what 8-hour shift feels like. That's what I would say is what an 8-hour shift is like.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to be just like over dramatic, but like that that is the best way I can describe it. I
Y'all
don't feel
got
like
like
I've worked.
bring the friend to work day so I could just come just
Yeah.
hang
Yeah.
out there for
Yeah.
the
It's funny. You're
I
not the first person who's asked that, but that would be awesome to
yeah.
have.
I honestly don't feel like I've worked a single day since I've been employed here.
You know, to piggyback off of the book on that note, I think George was talking to Jose on the book on the
Yeah.
bus, and
Yeah.
there's a specific thing on that about you got to love your employees because if you see them as just a number, then in return they will also see you as a number. And if you see them as a way of just getting promoted or to get your numbers hit, then that reciprocates onto the individual. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of new companies are starting to take a different turn. I think you were saying
Yeah.
something about Google noticing that if they gave unlimited vacation
Yeah.
to people, they potentially take less time because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
actually have that ability to do any time that they want, which is kind of crazy to think
Statistically,
about because
yeah.
you'd be like, I'm gonna go on vacation all year. Yeah, I'll see you guys.
Yeah.
See you in 2024 real
Yeah,
quick.
Right.
it
Yeah.
statistically was proven that if you give somebody unlimited vacation, they're less inclined to take it because they don't feel like, what is that,
It's pressure.
FOMO? They're not going to
FOMO,
miss
yeah.
out on it.
Yeah.
And when you give someone, I guess for lack of a better word, put someone in a corner and make them choose one or the other, it's going to create like a really hostile or like internally damaging environment. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Yeah, that's not good for anybody.
Yeah, and it's crazy because like in past jobs, right? We are given a time frame and a timeline to like throw your vacation and make sure you get it in by this date, by this time,
Yeah.
or you're not going to get it, or it's going to expire. You're not going to get rollover. It's like there's so much pressure to make sure you're doing, and it was sometimes plans fall through. Sometimes things happen where you're like, hey, I can't take vacation now, and it becomes such a nightmare to try to get that time back to reschedule. It's so difficult now with this system in place where like unlimited vacation is now a thing that not only the company that we work for does, but lots of companies do it now. It is exactly what you guys said, was like there's no pressure to take vacation during a certain time and plan certain things. You can always take vacation whenever you want, and for the most part, as long as you're doing what you should be doing, your vacation will get approved. There's no time frame. It's not like, hey, do it like 30 days in advance or 2 months in advance. It's like, hey, you want to go on vacation next week? Like submit your request in and enjoy your vacation.
Balance.
That's right. Balance. That sort of freedom. We get treated like adults, right? You need to take time off, make sure you have all your stuff done, take vacation, enjoy your time off, right?
Right.
There's so many jobs out there that treat employees, grown adults, like children, right? They micromanage them. They don't allow them to do what they need to do. You have to ask to go down the street to go to the store to get something to drink or something to
Get a little
eat.
candy bar.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like there's so many things that they restrict you from doing. It's like it's not even a job at that point. It's like an adult daycare, and you're in a prison like Tommy Pickles and the Rugrats, and you got a screwdriver. You're trying to pop out that motherfucker and get out the store. You know what I mean? Like it's so difficult. And when I told Caleb about this job, and I was like, it's just there's no cage, there's no playpen, we have upper leadership, we have bosses, but they're not
And we have
bosses.
goals and we have things that we need to do.
Yeah.
To maintain our job. And that is a given. That is what a job by description is. You have a thing that needs to be done. Just do it. I don't care what just do it. Honor the integrity of the company and do your job.
Yeah.
You're an adult. If you don't do it, okay, cool. I'm not going to miss you. I'll find someone that wants to. And that's how a job should be.
Yeah.
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 You were saying earlier, Caleb, about, the job involves you being on camera, and that's kind of giving you like a little bit more confidence of being able to come on the podcast and do things and not necessarily feel the pressure of, being on camera or whatever.
Yeah.
That seems to be like the wave. That seems to be how we're going. It's so convenient to be able to have conversations like this and also be able to connect with other people, startup businesses, masterminds, whatever it might be, that a lot of businesses are probably going to start adopting that kind of culture. And I think after COVID, we start realizing a lot of people realized working from home was kind of the way to go. And then, towards the end, like probably within like the 6 months ago or something like that, people were like, all right, why don't you come back into the office now? But now a lot of us are kind of like, you know what?
I kind of like working from home.
I did my job well at home.
Yeah, like trust me.
If anything, I did it better than being there, forced in a room, doing the exact same stuff. Yeah. And it shows. But obviously, I mean, there's going to be the other side of that where there's people always, taking advantage of it. But I think that if it doesn't detract from what needs to be done, why force someone to do something otherwise? Yeah. It's not broke, don't fix it, right?
Yeah. No, there's value going into like a team environment, like being face to face.
Yeah,
Obviously, there's something
it's
there.
true.
Um, but like the micromanaging, the mindset of I need to keep a close eye on you to ensure that I hit X, Y, and Z, that mindset is starting to fade. And I think with the new generations coming in, they're looking at it as if like, no, we choose not to abide by those kind of rules now. And we're like the transitional phase. We're the bridge. We're bringing in, that new age, but we're also showing them like what are the possibilities. And that's kind of like my approach to this whole podcast thing, where my mindset is you don't have to be prepared for nothing. Like trust yourself, trust your instincts. You have what it takes to be
Yeah.
whatever it is that you want to be, but you need to act. The
Hmm.
overthinking stuff, taking too long to move forward, that's not good for nobody. I don't get to hear you, you don't get to hear me, we don't get to experience this. There's value in being able to express yourself and share yourself. And
I agree.
nowadays better than ever because look at this. This is easy. You know,
Yeah.
this is convenient.
And also like to piggyback off of that, like that one like golden rule that I took from management. You're never ever going to be ready to do something until you physically go out and do it. And so you can prepare as long as you want. You can think that you are going to be this rock star, but unless you do it, you're not. You can be the most prepared person and you will fail unless you go and do it and live through that failure and experience it yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that has just been so impactful, and I take that with me and I try to apply it to everything. I try and seek discomfort as I can, because you experience the most growth when you do. You will fail. You need to fail to learn. And in doing so, you become better, more equipped. And I mean, you stand out. Someone that's infinitely more prepared than me, that's never done this, is not going to be as successful. And so I try and do that with everything. And it's been hard. I'm not going to lie. It's very hard to just say, all right, get, I'm gonna sit here and run it, but it's been fruitful. So
that's what I think. Yeah, I think we've come a long way, and I'm so excited to see where we are in a year's time and see
yeah,
what
same.
how
Yep.
different our podcast looks like,
Right.
as far as guests, as far as
Oh
us, as
no.
far as the intro, as far as anything else. And I think Caleb is frozen again, but
Yeah.
nonetheless, what we will do, we will proceed as business as usual,
I'm
and
out
what
here
and
struggling.
and I think initially what I always want to ask is why do you think, Shaw? Why do you think people procrastinate so aggressively in anything they do? They want to start something up. I initially have my own thoughts, but I did want to just check in with you and see exactly why do people hold back from doing what they want to do so frequently and get stuck in that repetitive comfortability of their job and their schedule, and everything is working, they're getting paid, they got insurance, they're taking care of their family, but there's no excitement or there's no drive to want to do something that they really love. And I know we kind of touched on this earlier,
Yeah.
offline, but why do people do that?
Man, I struggle with this. Um, you, a lot of times people will probably, and I'm talking from my own experience, but I'm sure other people can resonate to this, but a lot of times we're just scared of sharing our genuine thoughts because we feel like we're being misunderstood, and we're
Yeah,
scared of that. And I think there's a lot lost in that because of that fear.
yeah,
And I don't want to be misunderstood. I don't want somebody to say like my genuine thoughts are fake or something like my
sure,
my vulnerabilities now, because you could go back and re-watch this. You could point out like, oh no, look at the way he's saying that. Look at this,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
scary to me because who wants to be under that level of scrutiny? And I think from my perspective, at least, I see a lot of people procrastinate or not want to face that level of fear because you know it's scary to have somebody sit there and watch you and you not being able to defend yourself later on, and
yeah,
it's a whole new world. It's something different. It's definitely a one-sided thing, but if there is dialogue, it's different. That's just not the case nowadays when it comes down to videos and things like that. But I am getting over that, and I am seeing that there's no need to fear something like that, because coming from an authentic perspective, coming from a genuine perspective, at the end of the day, truth is going to prevail. It's not something that
Always.
people are going to sit there and like pick at if they matter. You know, there's going to be a lot of people that just don't understand you. You know, you're talking about you giving like relationship advice. I can't resonate with that. Like, no, man, my relationship is fine. I don't ever come 5 years later, you're gonna find out. You know,
You're gonna replay the video, be like, maybe it's not, maybe it's not what I thought it was.
Well,
You
but
know?
that comes with experience, that comes with time, and I listen to the OGs, man. People that are older than me, people that are younger than me. It doesn't matter,
Yeah.
man. I think there's a lot of people who are going to say something to me and tell me something genuinely and from an authentic place. I'm gonna listen, because there's so much value, you know, in people being able to say that. But when they're to be able to share that, and then what happens is when they're scared of that level of, you know, like, I don't want to put myself out like that. Well, no one's gonna hear you. No one's
Yeah.
gonna know. And how would you know if it helps or not? You know, that could be the
Right.
viral thing. That could be the next thing that changes somebody else's life. You don't know if somebody is like on the edge and they hear something that you have to say, that changes it. And that's my whole mindset around this, is that I've always thought of myself as a good coach, as a I man, my favorite part, I'll tell you this, and I'll
Yeah.
stop the rant. But my favorite part about AT&T was when I helped people set up their phones, teaching them how to
Yeah.
use their phones. What sucked about that um, was the fact that I would lose out on sales, and people would walk in and I would look and I'd be like, nah, I'm not going to take my eyes off this person here, because I'm trying to teach you how to use it. I'm building this rapport with you. I'm building this relationship with you. My managers will look at me and say, you need to hurry up. You're taking a long time. You're missing out on sales. And then what that did to me is, because my
Yeah.
strength was where, you know, I was able to help people understand how to use something, or I was able to build that connection with them as a coach, as a teacher, whatever it might be. That took away from my self-confidence about who I am as a person that
Yeah.
can do that. So then those strengths were not being recognized. They were actually hurting me in their eyes. So they would try to coach me and tell me, like, you need to be less like that and be more like this person that can just like smash like 5 sales in like 20
Yeah.
minutes, right? That did nothing for me as a personal growth. And I think that's where the energy buzz comes in. It's like sometimes you just gotta get away from that kind of environment, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And it's funny, I felt the same way, and I think a lot of people could also resonate with that same ideas. That's what constantly was being being spoken, was like sales, sales, sales. Right? We understand, right? It's a sales job. I think every sales job has that level of understanding, right? We want to take care of the customer. And I think for the most part, that's everybody's intention, is to take care of the customer, but also to move a little bit quicker. But there are times where we need to sit down, handle our customers, take care of them, make the interaction genuine, and make sure that they come back continuously and use us as like, hey, go see Shah, go see Ryan, go see Caleb, go see everybody. We all did the same. We all worked the same job. We all knew that process, and I think that was such a huge impact. Was like reading the energy bus was like, we're not here to flip customers. That's never our intention when we were working there. Our goal was to make sure we always have returning customers and taking care of them and coaching them and teaching them how to use their phone, like you mentioned. I think I think that has helped me even at this job now. And I mean, going back even before AT&T, we spoke about, I was at Kirby and I was selling vacuums door to door, and that was a struggle. That was a massive
Hey, but
struggle,
Kirby's are
man.
expensive. That's a big commission check right there.
Hey,
It's like
Bro,
so
two
also
thousand dollars for a Kirby.
no, yeah, $1,000. They were $3K. I think they were like 3,500 when I was
Yeesh.
selling them. But listen here, and I'm gonna sell you guys on a Kirby real fast. I don't work for them. This podcast is not promotionally advertised by Kirby at all. I'm
Go
telling
buy
you right now, the vacuums themselves were fantastic, and they had a lifetime warranty. You would never have to buy another vacuum again. Now think about the average cost of a vacuum now, about $200 to $300 for an average vacuum. You take it probably lasts anywhere from 3 to 5 years, right? Over the course of 25, 30 years, you've already spent that money on a vacuum. Why not get a vacuum, a shampooer, and it has a lifetime warranty and it works flawlessly forever? I know people that have had Kirby's, like Gen 1, Gen 2 Kirby's that are, old as dirt, but they still running. You know what I mean? So
My
they
mother-in-law's got
are.
one, bro. I hear it all the
Hey,
time when she's vacuuming. I'm like, I hear it from outside. Yo, that's the
yeah,
Kirby going.
yeah,
But you know what? Her carpet looks amazing.
yeah. It was so like I had these relationship building skills, and I don't think I really, it didn't fully, and I think I'm still learning, I'm still developing these skills and these traits with my job now and with all the jobs that I've had. And I think I agree with you 100%. It's like every time, even when we get on our podcast now, it's still, there's always like this in the back of our mind. There's like, is someone going to judge me? Is someone going to catch what I
Yeah.
say and misinterpret or analyze it a little bit differently based on my reaction or whatever the case may be? And I think that we have to be mindful of that, but we also, in order for us to have a successful podcast and continue to do what we want to do for our futures, like we have to get past that. We have to bypass those people. And Ice Cube once said, I don't remember necessarily, but what he said, don't quote me on this. What he said is, haters don't have losers, so I'm gonna keep winning.
Oof.
Oof.
Think about that. Losers don't have haters. And if people want to hate on you and judge you and analyze everything you're saying and try to tear it apart and say this and that about you, at the end of the day, if you got haters, you're winning.
You're doing something right.
So I'm gonna keep on winning.
Hey.
You know what I mean? So it's just a mindset. And I think the energy bus, going back to that book, helped me understand that to an extent where I think I felt comfortable enough to now be on camera and start to just kind of voice an opinion and talk about things that matter to me, or just to have an outlet to talk about things that were just interesting and talk to interesting people and understand. And we spoke about the other day was when you're on a podcast, and this is anybody listening, anybody that has an idea of wanting to start their own podcast, the great thing about hosting a podcast is that you now have to sit down and listen and understand people's thought process and their side of the story and how they look at things. And I think there's a very strong therapeutic message behind all of that, where in a private setting you wouldn't necessarily have to. In a podcast, you have to kind of let yourself sit back and understand someone's perspective on things. And I think that really helps us move forward as a society and a community, and make sure that we're not just having one side of an opinion is the only side that matters, that we have an ability to listen to other people, to get to know other people's thoughts and feelings, and build something pretty cool. And I think the podcast is a great way to start that. And Shah, I think that's great that you're wanting to start a podcast, and I'm excited to see what you have coming up in the future.
Thank you,
Same.
brother, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's gonna be good, man. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be fruitful. I know the dialogues are gonna mean a lot to me, and I'm sure everybody else is gonna feel some kind of benefit from it. At least that's what my approach is gonna be. So, this is a strange time. There's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of things that um, are concerning people. So if there is any like slight, you know, moment of hope, moment of like clarity, moment of understanding, that's all I can offer. Heck,
Yeah,
that's my way of changing my surroundings, my world. I can't go out there and solve everybody's problem, but I
yeah,
can voice my own situation and talk about the things that I've experienced, and the things I do want to experience. And as I speak through it, as I start having these dialogues, I feel like they're gonna become a lot clearer to me. And this is gonna be a journey, man. I'm ready for it. This is the time.
I'm excited. I'm excited. What is your what's your if you had the podcast laid out, what's your first episode podcast? What do you want to talk about?
Creativity. I want to talk about limiting creativity, finding power within your creativity. If you doubt yourself about how you're creative as a human being, you just haven't looked hard enough. I think every single person out there has a lot of wealth of creativity within them. And you know, I I fear that a lot of people are going to be sideswiped by how amazing AI is going to keep up with us when it comes down to creativity, because I've seen some art from AI and I'm like,
Yeah,
yo,
it looks pretty
you
wild.
know, we don't really need a lot of people sitting down making sketches for like tunes and stuff like that. Now I could just tell this little search box to make me like a cat with a you know, soldier outfit or whatever like that, and that's
Yeah,
my protagonist, and this is how we're gonna start the story off. That AI is gonna have it there in 3 seconds, and I'm gonna be able to create a whole entire, you know, and I think that's gonna change the way that we, you know, connect with technology. So
yeah,
my first podcast is most likely going to be about different tools that are out there, things that I feel like they could be used for, potentially ideas that I have, my own collaborations that I want to have with people that I feel like would be able to take advantage of that and run
yeah.
with it.
That's exciting. Yeah, again, you guys, if you haven't done so already, make sure you're following ShahKing on Instagram. That's ShahK1NG ShahKing
King
on
King.
Instagram. That QR code, make sure you scan over that. Caleb, you have any closing comments before we wrap up for the night?
I just want to say thanks for hanging out with us, man. Like I am super excited just like to have this opportunity to reconnect with you, and then just sit down and just chat. I think that there's value in that, and I don't know, it's fun. I always have fun. I go into these and I'm like, okay, today's gonna be a good day, and then by the time I'm done, I'm like, dang, that really exceeded my expectation. And so, super excited for your podcast to come out, man. I will be #1 fan, sitting in there, just watching it go.
Thank you, brother.
Actually, my quick question: where are you gonna be hosting this? I don't think we covered that.
Man, I have an idea that is, I know somebody's cabana that I'm probably going to start raiding. So
Yeah, yeah.
we
You
just
got a
got to get
spot.
internet out there. Maybe we can Starlink out there. Just
Yeah, yeah,
run a cable out from the back door of somebody's house. You know, I don't I don't necessarily have anything yet. That's why I really want to, you know,
Sure.
I love your guys' platform because it's so convenient. It's like you could do it from anywhere. And
yeah.
because I don't have any experience in this really, and all I really want to do is just experience it as I go. I mean, you look at my setup, bro. Like you got cables coming out the side,
Yeah.
my
Bro, I don't
little
even have a
olive
camera.
trees over there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little art over here for my homie Henry. You know, we just
Henry did that.
Henry did that, bro.
I
This
love
man has
Hey,
Invader
got a
Zim.
hey,
beautiful
shout out to my
mind.
boy Henry Hernandez. He
Yes, sir.
Henry with 2 R's. You guys look
Two
him up on
R's.
Instagram. Henry with
Rah,
two
rah.
R's.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So,
That's dope.
uh, but yeah, for now, it's just most of this stuff is gonna be hosted. I mean, on Restream, I'm gonna be doing exactly. I'm your guys' framework right now is my guiding light. So we're just gonna. I'm gonna. You know, I'm a student. I'm learning. So as we go on, I just want to be able to offer whatever I have in my head, throw it out there, and this is the platform. And then
Love
we'll
it.
go from there.
Yeah, love it.
Love it. Yeah, be on the lookout, guys. ShahKing on Instagram, on YouTube, on Restream, everywhere. He's going to be coming out. I would love to be a guest on your podcast when it finally goes live,
Bro,
sir.
same.
Let's get it.
Yes.
You guys have been
Yes.
Yes.
great. You guys are great. We will be back Saturday at 1 o'clock talking about the Appalachian Mountains and the history behind them, some of the neat conspiracies. We'll be ready. Make sure you guys are. You guys have a good rest of your night. Stick around, you guys. We will chat here after the podcast. You guys have a good night. Thanks for coming in. We will check you guys on Saturday. Bye, everybody.
Bye, friends.